Beth reporting for Kids First, age 17, and today I'm here to talk with Alexa and Stephen Kinigopoulos, who are the directors of the movie Fishbowl. How are you two doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I am good as well. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're fine. We're very happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Of course. So, to start off, I believe this is the first feature film that you two have worked on because you guys have mostly worked on shorts before. So what are some noticeable differences between working on a feature film versus working on a short?
Steve, you start.
There's more days to enjoy it. And there's a little bit more pressure. And you really have to look at the big picture. And I think with shorts, you can, the world isn't as grand, I feel like. But as far as that, it's like, I just feel like you have to be more organized and have a better recall. And with preparation, it's a little different. Lex?
There are a lot of differences. Budgetary, more days, probably a larger cast and crew usually, longer script. There are a lot of things that are different. One of the struggles I think about shorts is that you have to get your point across or your message or your conflict in pretty fast. So sometimes that can be, I think, more of a struggle in a short than a feature film, but there are far more things in a feature film that you have to think about, prep for, do in post. So it's definitely a bigger task to take on, but both of them have their kind of tough sides to them too. But both very rewarding. I would say a feature film is slightly more rewarding than a short film.
Yeah, I get that. I have had to do short films for my film class at school, and it can be very difficult to get into the right time limit because of the restrictions placed on it. I think it is interesting, sort of seeing, when with a feature film, when you have all of this freedom now to make a bigger story, and, I feel like that's kind of interesting to analyze how it differentiates. And, oh, I'm sorry?
Oh, I just said absolutely.
Yeah.
And you, like I said earlier, you guys were both the directors of this film. And I feel like it's pretty uncommon for a film to have, two directors working together. It's happened before, but it's not exactly the norm. So was it easier to have a second director, or what was it like?
Yeah, two heads are better than one, and especially if it's my sisters. We are best friends, so it makes it fairly easy, and we do like a majority of the same things. And we do have this weird, people on set will say, after a take, we'll look at each other and we know what the other is thinking to make tweaks for the next take. And it's just a nod between us, and I'll go, or Alexa will go fix that while the other one fixes something else, maybe with camera instead of actors. So I think it's just great to have somebody to lean on, whether it's life, film, sports, whatever it is. It's just it's always good to have that partner, I feel like, and we just get along really well.
We do. It's nice because we kind of tackle different fields. Of course, we oversee everything together, but Stephen is also the writer and the editor, so he'll really go in there and talk over intention and composition with camera, as well as the intentions with the actors and what's going on in that scene. And then maybe I'll kind of hang back at monitor and oversee, the overall shot and the costume design and the art department and how things are visually looking. And then we come together for everything. But it's kind of nice because we can kind of dabble in different departments and bounce ideas off one another. So we like it. And the thing I will say, if you're working with family or anyone, is if there's ever a disagreement, just be professional. And that was very rare for us, but if it happened maybe twice, and you just want to make sure you have that conversation away from others.
United front.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. And I think as someone who has collaborated with a lot of people, and when I write my own stuff, I think there's a lot more benefits to working with another person and having someone to bounce your ideas off of. So that was something that was interesting to me. Another question that I have is, where did your love of film originate? Because you guys are both, like, you mentioned earlier that you guys share a lot of the same interests, so.
Actually, we grew up, our mom does hair and makeup for movies and stuff like that. So, like, take your kid to work day, our mother would bring us on set, which is really cool. I personally was more into the sports thing. I thought it was cool. I wasn't into the arts until way later, and lucked out and ended up loving it. And I realized that I just needed a fresh start, because I realized I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. And then it's like, what do you do? My cousin Alexa was going to film school. And so I was like, yeah, I'll just go to film school. But I knew I loved it because it was the first time ever in my life that I was a good student, and I wanted to be a good student.
Very interesting. I think at a younger age, I always loved art and performing. And so then just decided to go to film school. I saw the movie On the Waterfront, I think maybe when I was 14, with Marlon Brando, directed by Elia Kazan. And I was just blown away. And we had grown up around film since we were babies. So I always thought it was fun, but never really imagined what I would do in that field. And then seeing that movie, I was just really inspired. And I thought either I'll be a director, a producer, or a DP. And here we are, years later. So really, I think movies were probably the number one inspiration for me.
That's nice to hear. And, I think this film is a very interesting film, and I explicitly mentioned that I liked the way it handled the topic of religion and sort of like how that affects people's psychology. So could you guys maybe go into detail about how you decided to approach religion in this film? Because that was really interesting to me.
Yeah. Stephen and I grew up with our parents being different religions. Our mother's Jewish and our dad is Greek Orthodox, which is, an intense form of Christianity. And I think growing up, although we never quite felt pressured by them to have a certain denomination, there was pressure within our peers and pressure we put on ourselves, maybe in one another. So I think we were good kids, but we definitely had a lot of questions. And I felt like maybe in the church, it was intimidating to ask why. You just were kind of told to do certain things. So I think as an adult, and especially like reaching your 30s, and I'm sure you'll find it's interesting to grow up and you just get a lot more questions as you grow older. So we thought it was kind of important to question our beliefs and what we're told, and just how kind of a family unit can be taught like to not ask questions and to just do as they're told, just kind of the cyclical nature of families keeping secrets, not talking about things, and just how teenagers naturally challenge. So I think that's kind of what we loosely based it off of. Right, Steve?
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely some exaggeration, some scenes, but other ones it is like, I feel like on the regular. For example, when Belle is, praying, finally breaks down and prays, and she's like, give me a sign. And all of a sudden the lights flicker, and you're like, is that the sign? But then it's the janitor. But is that a coincidence? Do you believe in coincidences? So there's different layers of it, and we're not, even when Rachel and her are talking on the porch, like, where do you think she is, and do you believe in heaven? I think there are different levels that we try to level the playing field in that regard when talking about it. Because spirituality is important to us, and we don't look at this as like a film where we're bashing. You know what I mean? It's just, I feel like it's easy to see what you want to see sometimes, and like also it's important that like, face a big deal. So we kind of just wanted to play with that.
And this is kind of a question that was more so to satisfy my own curiosity, because I was wondering this for a while, because in the film I noticed several references to the Y2K phenomenon, and I was wondering if that specifically like played a part in the inspiration for this film, because I was thinking about that a lot after watching the film.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. We kind of grew up in that where it was like Y2K, and then I think the Mayan calendar also was enclosed. It was like a whole thing, and I think they were worried about the computer shutting down. I remember Dad getting extra batteries and like
Yeah.
all this, like people even that weren't like out and about like believing in it or saying it, like I think some people stocked some extra stuff anyway because so many people were talking about. But we did kind of,
Yeah,
I mean,
we
that
grew up.
was the thing.
It was definitely a concern. I remember being a little bit nervous, so we've just always found it kind of fascinating. People that are like doomsday, end of the world preppers. It's kind of just fascinating. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that fascination. What were you gonna
Remember
say?
the ball dropping, and people were
Yeah.
like, wait, when it was about to hit, and they were like, is this it? And the computer's gonna go blackout, you know? It was a thing.
Well, thank you guys so much for this interview.
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for having us. It's
Yes.
great.
Of course. And that'll be all for this Kids First interview. If you like it, make sure to check out the Kids First website and of course all the other Kids First reporters. And I will be seeing you all later. Bye-bye.